If President Biden was trying to project strength today, things didn't go too well, beginning with mixed messages from his spokespeople about whether Putin's aggressive military move constituted an invasion. With weeks to figure out the response to Putin's anticipated move, the confusion was puzzling. Senior Democrat Senator Bob Menendez demanded the White House stop equivocating on the invasion question and impose severe sanctions.
When is it that we're going to be clear to Putin that there are severe consequences for what you do when he takes the bite after this bite? The bottom line is you need to be overwhelming in the response.
Hours passed as the world waited for Biden's response. Networks scheduled special coverage as a 2 p.m. press conference was brought forward to 1 p.m. Then it was postponed again and again. When it finally got going, the tired-looking president fumbled his lines.
Last night, Putin authorized Russian forces to deploy into these regions. Today, he asserted that these regions are actually extend deeper than the 2 areas he recognized, claiming large areas currently under the jurisdiction of the Ukraine government.
President Biden announced his first tranche of sanctions against 2 Russian banks, a handful of oligarchs, and cutting off Russia's access to Western financing.
We're implementing full blocking sanctions on 2 large Russian financial institutions, VEB and their military bank.
The sanctions that we put into place on Russia today are not very significant. Probably the most significant one came from Germany when they suspended the certification of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The others, sanctioning some of the lesser-known banks in Russia, banks that are mostly focused on internal Russian financing, are not going to be very impactful, and it's certainly not going to have a deterrent effect from getting them to stop this further invasion of Ukraine.
We're implementing comprehensive sanctions on Russian sovereign debt. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade in its new debt on our markets.
The debt over the long term could be fairly significant, but today, of course, Russia has relatively little debt. It has huge reserves, and as long as the oil and gas prices stay high, it is able to run budget surpluses.
As Russia contemplates its next move, we have our next move prepared as well. Russia will pay an even steeper price if it continues its aggression.
Dmitry Alperovich says if the sanctions are ramped up, Western economies will suffer.
What I worry about is potential for escalation. If the West decides to corner Russia economically, try to squeeze them so hard that the economy is going to be decimated, Putin is going to have no compulsion about responding, and responding very severely, not just oil and gas, but many other minerals.
Biden is worried about impacts on the American consumer.
I want to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump.
When the president turned to Vladimir Putin's televised address, in which Putin claimed Ukraine was not a legitimate country and asserted it was rightfully part of Russia, Biden seemed to lose his way.
Yesterday, the world heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history, noting that, well, I'm not going to go into it, but nothing in Putin's lengthy remarks indicate any interest in pursuing real dialogue on European security.
Putin's speech had brazenly set out a rationale for a full-blown invasion of Ukraine.
Modern Ukraine was entirely created by Russia, by Bolshevik communist Russia to be exact. This process began right after the 1917 revolution.
The entire speech was about Ukraine, how Ukraine really has no right to function as a state. It's very, very clear that he believes that, and that he's going to take action to try to, at a minimum, bring Ukraine into Russia's sphere of influence, if not annex it outright. So I think the next step absolutely is going to be an invasion.
With the world looking for clarity and strength in response to Putin's relentless aggression, Biden appeared flustered and faltering. His final statement before avoiding questions was equivocal at best.
And whatever Russia does next, we're ready to respond with unity, clarity, and conviction. We'll probably have more to say about this as and moves on, I'm hoping diplomacy is still available. Thank you all very much.
Vladimir Putin will not be shaking in his boots.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.